Cabal.
Welcome to the Abuki Cabal Show.
What's going on, everybody? Boy, do I have a treat for you guys. I have come across this young lady, and she is as evil as she is beautiful. She has some interesting content on her little TikTok here, and I'm going to share it with you guys. I'm sure you'll be interested in what she has to say. But first, if you guys could like, share, and subscribe to the channel, I'd appreciate it. And hit that notification button because it does wonders for the algorithm. On my behalf, of course. So anyway, this young lady here, I had a time watching her content. Most of the time I had to turn the volume down just so I could enjoy her looks. But I can't wait for you guys to, partake of this. She's a salty vixen, She seems to think that she knows a little bit about, some of these advanced topics like, where these resources need to be allocated with regard to who needs what, why the black woman is so much ahead of the black man, and why the black man just needs to be silent and allow, her type to elevate black women. And I can't help but to think that all this elevation is going to be at our expense, us black men. It's going to be at our expense. So she's going to throw out some tasty tidbits, some facts, and some data and some statistics, and we're just going to go through a little bit of that and see if she knows what the hell she's talking about. So let's get on with it. First of all, I'm going to summon her up with a little chant here. And alakazam, there she is. So let's see what she has to say. Put on the trusty volume here. Let's see what this young lady has to say.
Black women shouldn't have any standards. Have you seen the stats? Well, before I block you, I'm going to actually provide you with some stats that you men should be concerned about. Let's head right on over to Brookings Institute, brookings.edu, where they provided expansive research on the state of black men in the United States of America. They looked at some key facts on black men's outcomes in 8 important domains compared to black women and white men. And we're going to show you some stats. So in the first domain, education, black women are out degreeing black men. In 2019, only 28% of black men ages 25 to 29 held a bachelor's degree or higher compared to 30% of black women and 40% of white men.
Okay, I'm going to stop her right there. And I just so happen to have that article right here. Okay? I think I've gone over this article before in one of my shows here. And she's pulling from the Brookings Institute. I'm going to peel on down, and we got the education right here. Okay. Here's this 2019 poll. 28% of black men ages 25 to 29 had bachelor's degrees or higher compared to 30% of black women over 40% of white men and nearly half of white women, according to the National Center of Education Statistics in 2019. The gap is greater still at higher education levels. Only half as many black men have master's degrees, 4%, as black women have 9%, white men have 8%, and white women have 13%. Okay? Now, the point that she failed to realize, to mention was that it states down here, young black men are poorly served by schools. Okay? So that means they're not doing something right. That's why black men aren't doing that well. Okay? So then it shows you the data here. All right? Now let's go back to Miss Goddess, Tashadagoddess here, and let's hear what else she has to say.
Let's go to upward mobility. Black women and white women raised by low-income parents have similar rates of upward intergenerational mobility measured in terms of their individual income as adults. However, black men, by contrast, are much less likely than white men to rise up the income ladder, according to Raj Chetty and his Opportunity Insights paper.
Okay, so she stopped it there. Let's go back to the trusty paper here. Upward mobility. Okay, and here's all the stats that she talked about here. All right, black women and white women raised by low-income parents, those in the bottom 20% of the income distribution, have similar rates of upward intergenerational mobility, measured in terms of their individual income as adults. Black men, by contrast, are much less likely than white men to rise up in the income ladder, according to Raj Chetty, that man that she was just talking about, and his team at the Opportunity Insights, who have crunched the numbers on 20 million Americans in the 1978 to 1983 birth cohorts. A third of white men raised by low-income parents ended up in the top 40% of the income distribution as adults, compared to only 19% of black boys. The figure below shows the probability of moving up the income ladder for children raised by low-income parents by race. The data shows that black men raised by low-income parents face twice the risk of remaining stuck in the intergenerational poverty, 38%, as black women, 20%, in terms of their individual income. Note, however, that black women fare worse in terms of household income than in individual income, especially compared to whites. Itself a reflection in part of the worst outcomes for black men. See, she failed to realize to even mention any of that. See, that's significant because, one, the system is not made for a black man's upward mobility, and those women who grow up in households where black men fared better, they tended to do better as well. Okay, so she's leaving off some significant data here, and I'm gonna add this in the description so you guys can look at it yourself. Okay, now next she's gonna go into earnings. Okay, so let's go hear what she has to say.
Let's look at the labor force participation for black men.
She skipped earnings.
Likely to participate in the labor force compared to everybody else in America. Black men.
Why is that? Why is that? Why are black men less likely to participate in the labor force? Probably because it's harder for them to find a job, because the system is racist, and it tends to not allow black men to actually participate in the system in the same way in which white men do, white women do, and black women. And the reason for that is because they don't see you as a threat, sister. They don't see you as a threat because you are just as much an enemy to black men as they are. And they know that you're going to assist them in the destruction of black men and functional households in the black community as much as you can. So let's move on.
Men have the highest unemployment rate compared to black women, white men, Asian men, Latin men. Black men have the highest unemployment rate in the United States of America. This is according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Stats and the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis.
Okay, now let's move on to that inside the trusty article. So we got earnings here. Okay, so they show the earnings. You know, and here you got the white men, white women, black men, and black women. See, she skipped over this part because, as you can see here, black men make more than black women. Okay, there it is right there. Black men tend to make $775. I think this is a week. Median weekly incomes. Yeah. So this is per week. And then black women make $711. Okay. So some people might think that that's, not a significant amount, but it's a lot bigger than that, actually, when you start breaking down how much black men are bringing home as opposed to what black women are bringing home. But anyway, this was 1979 and 2019. So still significant findings, but still, they would have you believe that they're, up there probably just under white men, but that's not the case. You're still lagging below white men, white women, and black men. You're at the bottom. Okay. Labor force participation. Okay. Here's all of the data that she provided here. U.S. 5.6% percentage points lower than white men. U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics estimates. Note that this excludes the incarcerated population. Many men and women face different considerations when deciding to participate in the labor force. So here, for simplicity, we compare black and white men in terms of labor force participation. So they didn't even go into the other aspect of it, but I'm sure she dug in there to try to find something good in there. But as you can see, and this is not even something that anybody would even take issue with. We've known this for generations, that white men do better because the system is made for white men to do better. The system is made for black men to not succeed. But she's so educated that she's dumb. She doesn't take into consideration any of the things that are put in place for black men not to succeed, yet we succeed anyway. Let's move on. Okay, so here we got all the unemployment during the COVID pandemic, which is significant. Black men have higher unemployment rates of civilian, non-institutionalized black and white men and women over the age of 20, according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. There was a large race gap in unemployment, independent of gender, even before COVID-19 swept the U.S. Prior to March 2020, black men consistently had among the highest unemployment rates of black and white workers. Unemployment shot up for everyone in April, and black women faced higher unemployment than black men for 2 months. See, we've been talking about that. That's why Kevin Samuels was talking about that cold winter that was coming. As unemployment began to fall for most in June, black men's unemployment rose and remained high through September. The last month data is available. In September, 12.6% of black men were unemployed compared to 6.5% of white men. Okay. So we know why that is too. The same stopgaps that are there that have prevented black men from being able to be successful in the workforce and in the educational system, they're all there and they are still functioning to keep those numbers where they are. And it doesn't help that black women who gain positions tend to help those numbers stay where they are also. So we're not seeing them advocating for black men, but they're advocating hellaciously for black women. Not for the community, not for black boys, only for the little girls, black girls, and black women. That's the only concern that they have, is the elevation at the expense of black men, so that they can have supremacy over black men. And as you can see by this young lady's face and her over enunciation of the words and whatnot, to appear to be all dignified and classy, that she doesn't give two craps about black men. So where you have black men talking about the condition of the black community and how to fix the problem, all you have her types doing is talking about how much money they make and how educated they are and how they're not solving any problems with regard to the community. Now they're solving problems about individuality, individually, and with these, for the black girls, Black Girl Rocks, and traveling all around the country and looking like they're, having their best life and whatnot, saying they don't need a man and don't need no husband and all of that kind of stuff, and trying to prevent, black men from going out and finding women who want to be their wives. Those types. So here's life expectancy. Women live longer than men on average. Why is that? Because men work their ass off. They work themselves to death. So while we're out here working these 2 jobs and whatnot, working, trying to provide these homes for these women, or for trying to provide for ourselves and our children, no one cares. No one cares about, how long we're going to live or how healthy we are. All they want us to do is produce so they can go and reap that harvest, get that cash. Okay. So according to CDC, both at birth and at age 65 for white men, life expectancy at birth is about 6 years lower than at age 65. But for black men, that gap is over 9 years, showing that black men are more likely to die prematurely. Okay. You look at who was impacted the worst with COVID-19. Black men have been the most likely among black and white Americans to die of COVID-19 at a rate of 2.4 times that of white men, according to the CDC data through July 2020. Now, I've been talking about this, to all the guys in the community, for the longest. So many people out here basically downplaying COVID and its effect on black men, but it took us out at a huge rate, as you can see in the chart. The figure below showed that 80 to 100,000 black men in the U.S. had died of COVID-19 by July 4th. Okay. Look at this chart. Black men, black women, white men. You think this would be indicative of the difference in care that folks were receiving? Possibly, but you don't hear these sisters talking about that, except for the ones that work in the field. Now, I can't say all of them, because I know some hardworking black women in the field who were just as adamant about protecting, black folks and people in general from the ravages of COVID as I was. And if anybody knows me, I've been in the trenches since it started. So here we're going to go back down to criminal justice, and I'm going to go on back over to her and see what she has to say. She's a pretty thing, but boy, I tell you, these types right here, you see that face, you see that attitude, that's the very woman that you want to stay away from. Stay away from her, because she's going to kill you. She's going to put you in the ground early, because you're going to try to break her. You're going to try to get her to act like a wife, but it's just not in her. Ain't nothing in her but the Baba Yaga. That's it.
Baba Yaga.
That's all. That's all that's there, Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga.
Baba! Baba Yaga!
2020. Black men have the lowest life expectancy rate out of everybody in the U.S. Black men make up the largest share of prisoners in the U.S. So I think the approach.
You see how she just stretches those lips all over the place? They're pretty lips too. But she just stretches them and just tries to make sure every one of those words are able to be seen without you even hearing her. You know, it's like she's talking to deaf people or something. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But anyway, let's move on.
Appropriate and correct thing would be to focus on the statistics of men. Because I don't care if the world is crashing and coming to an end and the sky is falling. A woman should maintain her standards. I don't.
What? Did you hear that? A woman should maintain her standards even if the world is crashing down around her, rather than being a part of the solution, trying to help with the perpetuation of the species. She should have standards. She's an idiot. Because if the world was crashing all around, you got to do whatever it is that needs to be done in order for you to survive. See? And the problem is that these women are not concerned with survival and, being amicable with a partner or being a part of a solution for anything as small as a relationship, a marriage. She's talking about these lofty, ideas and these lofty problems, and she can't even get herself together. All she can do is just see, all the wrongs in black men, but she don't even understand why black men are having such a hard time. Okay? She's full of hatred and vitriol. And all she can do is just point that finger at us and say how we're not doing this and we're not doing that. Now, this lady is 50 years old and she's single and she's beautiful. So she is a failure, an abject failure at relationships. All she's good at is making herself look good. That's it. Going out and parading around for other women. And she prides herself on basically being an advocate for these other women because nobody else wants to stay in her face long enough to put up with her. 50 years old, no kids, no relationship, no nothing. And, she had the nerve to be on there talking about, she's, how, attractive she is at 50 and she's trying to find love and all. It's too late, baby. It's too late. You are ruined. You're already set in your ways. You're on here trying to down men using statistics that you can't even understand. And you're using that, half-tail education that you got to try to basically laud that over men as if that's going to make you more attractive. That's going to bring some guy in to say, yeah, I got to have that. Well, it ain't happening, sister. So let's go back over here to these statistics, where she's talking about criminal justice and all of that. Yeah. They've got a lot of black men in jail, but we already know why that is. These private prisons, the whole mechanism by which they put black men in jail. You don't even have to be doing nothing. You just be in the right place. They will put you right in jail and put you to work. It's kind of similar to the vagrancy laws back in the day. She probably didn't know anything about vagrancy laws or any of that history, pesky history that basically said that, black men were vagrants if they weren't, working for some white man for free. She don't know nothing about that. She thinks that black men were right along with the white men subjugating the black women. What she doesn't know is that the white folks forced the black women to work, even when they didn't have to, because their husbands had pensions or were working and didn't want their women to work. But then they forced them to work. They had newspaper articles that talked about how they forced these women to work. Either you come out and you work and do these domestic jobs so that our women will be fresh for us when we get home, or you can't live in our county. They put them out the counties and damn near ran them out the states in some cases. It's all there. All you got to do is just go look for it. It's easy to find. But see, they don't look for that. They try to make it seem like we black men subjugated them and made them work and didn't protect them and whatnot. All these black men that were lynched, put in the ground, and died protecting their wives and children, got hung, burned, dismembered. All of that wasn't enough for them. She doesn't even have any kind of respect for any of that. None of that. Okay, now here's the part that she left out. Matter of fact, let me just let her finish up, and then I'm going to finish up with the parts that she left out.
Here, if there's one pack of bread left in the whole United States, a woman is to maintain her standards. It doesn't matter how bad the stats look for a black woman. We remain to have standards. You're no longer able to manipulate us and shame us into getting with you guys who are at your lowest.
Whoa.
So stop trying the scare tactics.
See, I don't know if you guys just saw this deal with the white women where you're graduating college and they were all holding their fingers up and they all had their wedding rings on, or their engagement rings. They all had husbands. They were just graduating, didn't have any jobs. Everybody was broke, but they were successful in getting them a husband. And from there, they were going to make it together. See, they go out, that husband works, she may work or not, but they find their husbands in college. But black women go to college and find themselves to be better than all of the men there. They don't want a husband. They just want to make money. They prioritize money over everything else. And then later on, when they're in their 50s, they want to have children. They want to find love then, after they've let Pookie and Ray Ray run all through them. And they've dated and gone over to Jamaica and got their booties rubbed down with those water baths and all of that inappropriate behavior, getting all felt up and all of that. They do all of that. But see, they call us men. They call us whores because, we're out there trying to find our woman. We're going out, we're dating, we're vetting women, but see, they don't see it that way. They think, I guess we're supposed to stick with the first one smoking and not, see what's in her head. Now, see, a woman like her, she's had it easy her whole life because she's attractive. She's light-skinned, she's attractive. She's probably had a lot of things just handed to her, but she's going to put herself in the same boat as dark-skinned women, as women who have had less fortunate outcomes. So if that's the case, she wants to lump herself in with them so that she's viewed the same way. But we all know that that's not how it works. They take advantage of these things rather than, looking at the differences in black people and their outcomes. But let's move on.
We're not working anymore. We are content with, many women are content with being single and unmarried and having, 1, 2, 3.
Content with being single and unmarried. She really says this. She really thinks that women are okay being single and never chosen to be a wife. Okay? She's fine with that. She's loving her position in life. Yet you go to her little TikTok and she's on there and she's looking for a man. She's not content in being single. She's out here telling these other women that they're content in being single, but she's not content. So this is this disingenuous argument that you hear from. You don't hear this from any other women around. You damn sure don't hear from these Brazilian women, from these Dominican Republican women, these Thai women that the passport bros are going out and going to see. They want to be your wife. And they want to take care of you. They want to take care of the house that you provide for them. They want to be thankful and helpful in the process of having a good life, contributing to that. And see, what these women don't realize is that when you take care of your half of the role of taking care of the family, then you're taking care. You ain't got to do all that arguing. No man's going to be trying to argue with you. He's going to be trying to make sure that you're taking care of everything that you want is going to be provided. But see, the thing is they don't want to be provided for. They want to have it too. They think that we respect them having a job and having money. But when they have a job and money, then something is going to be unkept. Something's not going to be taken care of, and that's probably going to be you or the children or the house. Something's going to be left undone so that she can take care of herself, so that she can look like she's doing better than what she is. Because it's never good enough for you to look like you're at the level in which you are living. You always have to put on airs like you're higher than that. That's what they do. And as you can see, this is what she's doing.
10 or 12 cats with no problem. Black women.
Yeah, so she's going on with the 10 or 12 cats. Yeah, she's a cat lady, and she will be content with her cats, I'm sure. But let's go on back here. Okay, so in this article, at the end of this article, you have the case for action. These are hard facts, but ones that have to be faced in order to respond to the once-in-a-generation moment of racial reckoning taking place in the U.S. right now. Policymakers should consider Black men's experience and the select facts through the lens of intersectionality, a framework pioneered by Kimberly Crenshaw. You guys, if you know me, you know how I feel about Kimberly Crenshaw. Okay, for examining how identities can combine to create specific nodes of disadvantage. Intersectionality points to the need to see individuals in the context of a wider range of identities rather than in simple binary terms. Yeah, we should see people in simple binary terms because that's the way the world is. So, thank you, Kimberly, for adding in all of the gay stuff and the women and all of these other things to make everything a little bit more complicated so that women can't keep up. Okay, well, these women, and if you know my page, look, I'm not going to be sitting up saying every few minutes, some, but not all, and all of that. If I'm talking to you, you know who I'm talking to. Okay. So, such as male or female, Black or white, or gay or straight. This can highlight the position of multiplying burden groups, as Crenshaw puts it. On many social and economic measures, Black men fare worse, not only than white men, but white and Black women, as we show above. Parts of the cause is that Black men are uniquely stigmatized, according to studies of implicit bias conducted by political scientists Ismail White and Corinne McConaughey. More than 40% of white respondents ranked many or almost all Black men as violent. White men are less than half as likely to be described in this way, at about the same rates as for Black women, while white women are very unlikely to be labeled as violent. It's no surprise then that Black men are also more likely to be stopped by the police, more likely to be frisked, more likely to be arrested, more likely to be convicted, and more likely to be killed by law enforcement. And, stopping here, this is my own input, Black women take advantage of these, that they know this too. So they take advantage. So then when they want to take you out, or they want you to not have access to your kids and all that, they take advantage of all of this data and all of the framework that's been put together through generations to keep Black men down. And that's why you may be sleeping with the enemy, or you may have people in your community who may look like you, but are not for you, and who are responsible for the deaths of Black men, or taking advantage of the deaths of Black men, as we saw with Black Lives Matter. Okay. So, as Rashawn Ray, a Rubenstein Fellow at Brookings Institute, argues, Black men have a different social reality from their Black female counterparts, he writes. things we've been saying here in the manosphere for the longest. They sit up and they throw up the things that are used to kill us, the things that are used to keep us from getting jobs, the things that keep us down, yet we still persevere, we still make it, we still adapt and overcome, but that's still not good enough for them. And then when we try to leave, they try to shame us into staying with people who hate us. Now make that make sense. Okay, goes on to say the perceptions of others influence Black men's social interactions with coworkers and neighbors and structure a unique form of relative deprivation. In this regard, the intersectionality framework becomes useful for illuminating Black men's multiplicities and vulnerabilities. Given the weight of the evidence on the specific and unique plight of Black men, general policy recommendations will not suffice. Break the cycle of intergenerational disadvantage for Black boys and men requires first a deeper understanding the gendering of their race and the racialization of their gender. And second, a battery of specifically tailored policy interventions, a new deal for Black men, no less. Now, see, that's what she left out. Don't you think that's significant? She tend to leave out the most intriguing aspect of the data, which is Black men need this focus. Not the Black women who are basically trying to use the data to say that you're dumb and get out of the way and let women make all the money and get all of the education and continue to make policies that will not benefit you and that will further weaken the structure of the Black community, i.e. the family. These policies that are in place, these women put these policies in place for selfish gain. See, the family's needs are, in order to address the family's needs, you have to be selfless. And if you look at what's going on in the community right now and where the focus and the benefits are being distributed, it's in a selfish manner, not in a selfless manner. And who do you hear crying about it? Black men. Because we want our babies to be taken care of. We want our households to be taken care of. And we want people to stop listening to these other communities, which has caused these high rates of abortions and whatnot, which have taken out millions since the 70s, millions of Black people. And then you wonder why we don't have the numbers. You have Latinos, coming over here, Hispanics coming over here, and they have the numbers. They're going to be, higher than us because they're having their babies. They're not aborting their kids. We're aborting our kids because white folks told us so forever. You can't make it without kids. Your life is ruined if you have children. That's what they told, even especially down south. They encouraged our mothers to not have kids. And if they did get pregnant, they kicked them out of schools. They couldn't go to school. They couldn't do anything. Their lives were severely impacted by having something as natural as a child, having a family. And they made it something deplorable, something nasty. Now you think on that and look at how people are willingly labeling themselves in this way now, while listening to folks like this, Tashadagoddess. I encourage you to go on her page and just listen to her content. Don't harass her or anything, but just listen to this idiot. This young lady, and just kind of comb through her content and see where you think her heart is. I want you to just see if she really has some concern for other Black people, especially Black men, or if she's just on here taking up space and talking about things that she's not qualified to talk about. But hey, I can't judge. All I can say is that hey, I took a look at it. I did my best, but I guess my best wasn't good enough. So I'm gonna let you guys take a look. You guys hit me up in the comments and let me know what you think. I look forward to talking to you guys in the comments. I have a ball, going back and forth with you guys and you gals, because I've got some nice female followers that have some insightful, discourse about some of this mess, that we see out of these types, but I appreciate you guys coming through. And again, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit that notification button. And thanks for hanging out with your guy, Abuki Cabal.